Disclaimer. Judge Ron Rangel is providing this podcast and website for educational purposes only, as well as to give the public general information regarding topics related to the criminal justice system. The views, thoughts, and opinions of his guest speakers are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Judge Rangel. All rise. You are now listening to Beyond the Gavel with Judge Ron Rangel, educating the public and expanding mindsets. Subscribe on our website, beyondthegavelpodcast.com, or your favorite podcast platform for more of the latest podcast episodes and updates.
Welcome to Beyond the Gavel with Judge Ron Rangel. I am your host. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm actually excited about the conversation. I'm going to timestamp it. December the 18th, 2025. The courthouse is starting to slow down.
A bit.
It's kind of a good feeling. I kind of like it. You kind of wait. You wait for the whole year to work, and then you finally say, all right, this is the time. Get to enjoy festivities. Courts generally take their folks out to Christmas parties or, have a little gathering for them. I had ours for the 379th District Court last night. It was very pleasant.
Thanks for the invite.
I had a really good time. Yeah, well, I know you're busy. I know you're everywhere. I don't want to add to your plate. You do so much. I'm excited today. We're going to bring back a guest, which we first had on episode 3 of this podcast. December the 7th, 2022 is when we dropped it. I'm going to introduce to you 436th Juvenile District Court Judge William Cruz Shaw. Judge Shaw has been on the bench now for 3 complete years. He's been elected to the 436th Juvenile District Court 3 years ago. Here we are 3 years later. So 3 years on the bench. I'm excited to have him. Welcome, Judge Shaw.
I appreciate it, Judge. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And you were a very popular guest the first time, so you actually helped our podcast grow and brought in some listeners.
I show my support. You know that.
I appreciate that. Now, since you were first with us, I'm sure you've gotten a lot out of it, right? Since in terms of the timing, what have you learned? What has surprised you? What have you gotten out of the last 3 years as a result of your experience on the bench?
Every day it's something new. And I've always known this, but we're actually seeing it firsthand is the amount of impact that we're having with these kids and these families. At first, 'cause I did a lot of adult criminal cases as an attorney.
Yes.
So you try to, get the best justice outcome that you can and then move on to the next and hopefully they figure it out.
Right.
But with these kids and these families, it's like a long-term process. And you're really seeing what your words can do to these young people. And I think I took that for granted at first, but then being there for these 3 years, I can really see that impact.
So what you're doing is you're sort of setting the stage for their life. Right.
And then, people know, they see it on the news or they'll see it on TikTok or whatever social media platforms out there. But, I'm very, I don't want to say raw, but I'm very direct with these kids and these families. And they know I care for them. I want the best outcome, but I'll still do what I have to do.
Yes.
To protect them and our communities.
Is there a different sense of responsibility that you feel dealing with folks that are so young under the age? Now, juvenile under the age of 17.
Correct.
16-year-old and younger in your court.
Yes. We have to be able to know the difference between adolescent behavior and criminogenic behavior. Some kids are just like when we were in school, you used to fight, call it a day, shake hands, and it's over.
Right.
Or if you had a bully, you hit the bully in the mouth, it's over. Those days are gone. That's frowned upon. People are being arrested for that. You kill along or fight your siblings because parents are calling the cops and they have to arrest. So trying to look between the lines and look through the weeds to realize, okay, is this child just being a child or are there real issues going on in that house or with that individual?
So is there some sort of adolescent behavior then that's being suppressed? Maybe the inability. I remember when I was in school, even as young as junior high, which today would be middle school. But back then we would get into some sort of a tiff over in school and the coach would come and say, You guys got to put the gloves on.
Right.
Go outside, put the gloves on, take it out on each other, and then when it's over, shake hands, call it a day.
It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those days are gone.
Yeah. So as a result of that, do you think that there's a reaction to that? Is there some sort of consequence?
I don't know. What I do know is that with social media and the trends that we're seeing now, kids they're no longer fighting either because they can't fight. So what they'll start doing is taking a gun.
Right.
Loaded or unloaded. They take that gun to school to show off or to scare somebody at the school, and they realize, I got a gun. I'm getting arrested. I'm going to detention.
Now, obviously, it's good that we enforce the idea with children that you're not supposed to be aggressive with each other. You're not supposed to fight with each other. But the troubling trend in gun possession of juveniles, that's something that's been going up, right?
Yeah. It's really easy to get a gun nowadays. And some of our pleas, part of the family code, they have to tell us where they got the gun from. And I always tell them, if you tell me you found that gun at the park, I'm going to lose it. I've been to several parks. I've walked throughout the city. I never found a gun laying in a bush or on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
But some of the kids will open up and they tell us they break into cars.
Yeah.
And they look for certain stickers on trucks. And if they can get in that truck or that car with that sticker, they look in the console or glove compartment, usually, and they can find a gun. Responsible gun owners need to have their guns locked up in a portable safe in their car if they're going to leave in their car. A console is not going to, you can pull it hard enough and it'll open.
Yeah, so the gun in the park is akin to an adult court. We have the guy charged with the possession of meth in the pant pocket, and it's like, look, those were not my pants. I just put those pants on this morning, or I didn't put those drugs in there. But it's an interesting point that you make, because when I was at one point, I took my granddaughter and we went to the park, and my truck was broken into.
Okay,
I had a lot of valuables in there. But the only thing that had been opened up was the center console that had been rifled through. Papers were everywhere. Nothing else was touched.
Right.
So they're specifically looking for these guns.
Yep.
Yeah. So what is it that they're doing with that? What's the purpose?
They're keeping the guns. They're keeping them. They're passing them around. They'll try to sell it on social media. They do just various different things, or they'll pass it amongst their friends and take it to school or take it to parties, and not knowing how to shoot.
Right.
And so when they get the courage enough to pull that trigger, usually they don't hit their target. They hit somebody else, an innocent person.
Yeah, there was something I saw in the paper here in San Antonio recently, a couple weeks ago, where a young kid was in court for killing their 8-9-year-old brother or something. Kind of the same idea, right? Had a gun showing off. They were juveniles. Do you see that kind of stuff?
Yep, a lot. We see it a lot. And then we always tell them, like, why do you need a gun? Okay. Well, because they have guns. So my response is, if you're someplace where you need a gun, you shouldn't be there.
Right.
It's very simple.
Right.
If you have to be someplace with a gun, there's no business for you to be there. So go home, go to school, go back home. It's very simple.
No, so you're not just being a judge.
No.
You're being almost like a guardian.
Yeah,
right?
Sometimes.
Like a parent. What's that experience like to be? Because I noticed probably one of the first times I saw you on TV, and for listeners that don't know, Judge Shaw's on TV quite a bit. he's been the media person, I think, lately. Since you've been there, frankly, and I noticed immediately that you were not wearing a robe.
Right.
You're wearing a guayabera.
Yeah.
You want to tell us what that's about?
So, we're working with kids and families. It's almost like a police officer. When certain families or communities see a cop wearing a uniform, they slowly start they're hesitant. They shut down because it's intimidating. I know I'm the judge on that bench. They know I'm the judge. I don't need the robe to enforce that. But also I want them to realize that I'm a human being just like them. I'm full of tattoos. I speak the way I speak, and I'm on the bench. So I get it. So now what can we do together collectively as a community, probation, attorneys, judges, to get these families and these kids on the right track? And that's my goal. So I don't wear the robe so I can remove that first initial barrier of walking in and just freaking out like, okay, he's a judge.
Right.
And so I think that's gotten the point across. Yeah, I don't know. And plus it's hot. Yeah, it's
Agreed.
hard. Yeah,
Well, you got to have a certain sense of humility for that, right? Like you don't have to prove anything.
right. No.
They know why they're there.
Right.
And I kind of have that sense when I speak to defendants in the courtroom. I never have to tell them that I'm the judge or prove to them that I'm the one that is the judge because they all know that, right? I mean, they know that they're there. So what kind of responses do you get as a result of that?
Hopefully, a response that says, I don't want to be in front of that judge again.
Yes.
And it's funny because we have to have detention hearings every 10 days. So, because there's no bond process in juvenile. So the deputies will go back there and get the kids to bring them up. The first thing they always ask is Judge Shaw on the bench. And he says, yep. Damn.
Why is that?
Because I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah. You're going to talk to them.
I'm not here to play.
Right.
I'm here to try to save lives, save communities, keep families intact. I have no time to, sugarcoat anything because, the world's hard. And if you're not ready for it, it'll eat you up.
So you mentioned you got to have bond hearings every 10 days. So unlike the adult system, in the adult system, bond is, you got a magistration. Somebody gets arrested. They're brought within 48 hours to a magistrate. They read them their rights. They say, this is what bail is going to be set at. And then that's it. Because you don't have that process. You don't have cash bail. You don't have PR bonds. You don't have anything like that. It's basically, are they detained or not?
Correct.
Got to have a hearing every 10 days.
Correct.
I mentioned at the opening today, this afternoon, that the courthouse is slowing down.
Right.
So what does that look like for y'all? That means y'all have to go in all the time, right? To have these.
Yeah. We're going to be really busy tomorrow because we're trying to lighten it up for the holidays, our dockets. But if a kid gets arrested, we still have to go in and have a detention hearing, an initial detention hearing. Make sure there's probable cause for the arrest. But tomorrow we'll be really busy so we can kind of free up some of the attorneys, probation officers, and court staff so that they don't have to come back as often as 10 days.
So you're looking for probable cause, but you're also looking for other things, right? Safety to the community.
Correct.
What are some of the things that you look at when it relates to allowing a child out while their case is?
If they're currently on probation, if a gun was used, if they're not allowing themselves to be adequately supervised, if they're going to abscond from the jurisdiction of our court, if we can't find a parent, and that's been a big thing recently, where parents are refusing to come to court for their kids, and I'm missing one. They're already on probation, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a lot to analyze, and it seems like there's a lot of gray there, right?
Right.
And evaluating what kind of parents they have. I mean, two different people could look at those parents completely two different ways.
There's no manual on how to be a parent. What's a good parent? What's a bad parent?
Right.
A lot of these parents are doing the best they can. And they probably came from very similar situations.
Right.
So they're working on what they know. And their kids getting arrested, sometimes it's okay for them. It's understood. We always hear, Mijo's a good kid, but.
Yes.
Sometimes, no, we got to figure something out.
So it's a generational thing.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. And so it makes you wonder how opportunities differ across parts of our society. Let's talk about juvenile crime trends. That's important, right? And I know that this is part of your business. This is what you do. You want to tell us what the numbers look like for us?
We're pretty consistent right now. Compared to previous years. One thing that we will see, especially during the school months, is that our referrals to probation go up. And that's when a kid is arrested, warrants issued, and they're referred to a probation officer and then a court date potentially. So most people think that during the summer, when school's in session, that our numbers go down. But it's the complete opposite. Our numbers tend to go up.
Right.
When you have 500 kids in one school, they're going to be doing something they're not supposed to be doing.
Right.
Whether it be having a vape pen at school, a gun, fighting. While they fight, they hit a teacher. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So our numbers really increased during the school months, but we're also seeing a minor decline in aggravated charges. But we are seeing an increase in property crimes, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. Breaking into cars, that's slightly starting to increase a little bit.
So you talk about referrals. Referrals are basically when somebody gets arrested in the adult world.
Correct.
So juveniles, somebody comes into custody, you call them referrals.
Correct. Yeah.
And aggravated felonies or aggravated crimes, those are the violent ones, whereas property crimes tend to be not violent.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So big picture trends, what does all that look like in terms of violent versus nonviolent offenses, misdemeanors versus felonies, that sort of thing?
If I can recall correctly, the felonies are slightly down, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Misdemeanors are up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but nothing too astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a trend. There's no secret sauce or secret bullet of why that trend's occurring. But that's what we're seeing now.
Mm-hmm. So felonies being down, how does that look for the rest of society, right? I know those of us that watch TV, watch the news, look at these kinds of things, it always feels like it's up.
Right.
But the fact that you're saying that it's actually down currently, is there anything that you could attribute that to? Anything? And I'll give you an example.
Right.
So in the adult world, we talk about backlogs, right? And with backlogs, people always think it's something related to the court.
Okay. Yeah.
But let's say that there's a warrant roundup that SAPD decides to go out. They're going to say, hey, we got some warrants. We're going to go arrest some people. They go out of their way and they do a great job bringing folks in. All of a sudden, those numbers shoot up.
Right.
So it's not necessarily that people are committing more crimes.
Right.
It's just that they got that warrant roundup. So because the courts now are full,
Right.
you're going to have more backlogs.
Yeah.
So
That makes absolute sense.
is that something that happens in the juvenile world?
I don't see that very often. Like I said, nothing comes on top of my head. I just know, like in the summer months,
Mm-hmm.
we get really slow.
Mm-hmm.
We get really slow, especially after COVID. People become very isolated.
Right.
They kind of just do their own thing, have their little group of friends. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you start putting them amongst other kids, and then especially with social media, and things they do on TikTok and Instagram, it's that. I mean, we're seeing that increase a lot. But I will say this too: after the new statutory implementation of vape pens,
Mm-hmm.
because before schools weren't arresting for vapes.
Mm-hmm.
So now if you have a vape at school, it's an automatic state jail felony.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that went into play, we got a bunch of those. I mean, it was like a wave of kids coming in with the vape pen charge.
Right. What do you attribute that to? It's just something that's more prevalent?
Kids want to be cool.
Yeah.
That's the fad right now. Not just amongst kids, but amongst adults.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with kids is, though, 9 times out of 10, they're not working, so they don't have any money. Someone's giving them this vape. They don't know what's in it. They think they're smoking nicotine, when it's actually THC, maybe it's heroin, meth, sometimes fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
They just had a big bus down south with a bunch of vapes that are being shipped further up
Mm-hmm.
with all the vapes were laced with fentanyl. And luckily they caught them. But what about the ones they didn't catch?
Right. Right. Very deadly, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So are you seeing, families that belong to a certain socioeconomic group? Are you seeing groups of folks that live in certain parts of the community? Who is it that you see that are getting arrested for juvenile crimes? Referrals.
So it covers the entire spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say about 98% of the families that we see all get a court-appointed attorney.
98?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very high.
Yeah.
So that means most of these families are living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
Okay. Very rare do we ever see a retained attorney coming in on a case. Mostly the people of color.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also, between men and boys and girls, 51, 49, it's very close.
Really?
It's very close.
Wow. It's not like that in the adult world.
No.
In the adult world, it's more like 72% men
Okay.
versus the rest being women.
Right. With our girls, it's more of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Parent takes their cell phone. They just don't know how to act. So they hit mom or they hit sibling. Or, again, at school, girls get into it. They fight, hit a teacher, things like that. We don't really see a lot of the gun charges with our young girls.
Mm-hmm. As it relates to the violent type offenses, where do those things come from? Are those generally in school? Those generally like people that are hanging out in groups of kids, like gangs? I mean,
all of it. Now we have kids now that they're starting their own gangs. There's like 4 of them,
Uh-huh.
and they named the gang after their apartment complex.
Yeah.
Stop it. Okay, stop it. Oftentimes we're seeing somehow, some way, social media is attached to it somehow.
Uh-huh.
whether they were disrespected on a post, or they did a TikTok video and disrespected some other kid. Now you have two cliques that don't like each other, and then it just erupts from that.
That's the way they talk to each other.
Right.
They communicate with each other.
All social media.
Yeah.
All social media.
And then a lot of these crimes are also, we see them in the adult courts where they actually record certain crimes and then they post them.
It's the worst thing. Because you'll ask them, like, I don't know, Johnny, you steal cars. I've seen you stealing cars. Why do you steal cars? I'm trying to get likes, sir. But you suck at stealing cars, man. You got to go read a book. You know, go swing a bat. Do something productive, because this is not the life for you, because you suck at it. And you got to tell them. And they're very honest. Oh, sir, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. I mean, a lot of the kids are really good kids. You know, manners. Yes, sir. No, sir.
Right.
Respectful. They just can't control that impulsivity of wanting to do things they're not supposed to be doing.
Well, you're talking about school attendance tends to cause these rates to go up.
Right.
What can schools do differently? What can the educational system change that would make it better?
You know what? I don't know that answer. I know our teachers now are having to deal with issues that our teachers didn't have to deal with for whatever reason. A lot of the teachers now deal not only with that student, but now with the parent.
Right.
And like during our time, that teacher could be quote unquote wrong. My mother's still going to side with that teacher.
Right. Right.
Always. So I knew if I did something wrong, I go to my mother and tell her, hey, I did this, but the teacher's fault. No, it's your fault.
My mom would be the same way.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Yeah.
I think we've lost that.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see it. My wife was a teacher, and she would talk about that.
Right.
It's not like it used to be.
Right.
And, you know, part of it is our generation's fault, right? Because we don't want our kids to suffer. We don't want them to go through what we went through. So we treat them a little differently.
I know. And that's a conversation me and my friends always have.
Yeah.
You know, we all have kids now, and we all come from a certain social economic background.
Yes.
And we appreciate it, because a lot of us, you know, are doing great things in the city, in our communities. And I think it was because of that upbringing that helped mold us.
Right.
Well, how do we get our kids to be out that follows that same track? You know, our kids are going to private school. I've always gone to public school.
Right.
You know, always. I've never set foot in a private school. And how do we keep our kids humble enough to understand where their parents came from, and hopefully can do great things without being spoiled, for lack of a better word. Yeah.
Where does mental health come in? How so?
You know, just from my experience, I'm not a mental health expert whatsoever.
Right.
But you know, it's a I don't call it a trend, but it's a new platform that's opening up so many different doors and what's happening in our communities. Mental health is huge. It's huge, especially with our boys. You know, as men, we're taught, suck it up, deal with it. Deal with it. So our young men don't want to open up. Especially
folks from a certain socioeconomic background.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct. They toughen up. They turn to a shell. And it's just so hard to crack that nut, because they're groomed to be a very hard individual. And like, I'm just here to help you, man. And that's one of the reasons why I wear a robe. Like, I'm here to help you. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of it.
So would case managers, would more psychiatrists in public schools, would that be something that
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I do know it'll have to be a wraparound services collective approach. We can't just expect the school to handle it. We need our communities to handle it. Like, do we know our neighbors? Do we know our kids' friends' parents?
Right.
Do we communicate often?
Right.
You know, like, are we talking and having dinner with one another, talking about the day so we know what's going on in our communities? Yeah. I don't know if we're still doing that.
It's a deeper thing, right?
Right.
When people blame the justice system for crime rates, let's say, the DA's office is at fault for X, or the judges or the law enforcement or whatever, it's a societal thing. It's much more than that. Right?
That's just low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
It sounds good.
Yes.
Like, okay, somebody to blame. But sometimes the hard thing to do is look in the mirror and point at ourselves.
And you see that being more pronounced in the juvenile area? Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of a judge and the bench, how do you deal with that? How do you handle those types of issues in the courtroom?
We run a very strict courtroom. With the staff. We have a great staff in 436. I want everyone to enjoy coming to work, and all have the same mission that we're here to change lives, and we're here to support. So just every day, just going to work, putting our head down, calling our docket every morning at 9:00. The detention hearing's at 9:30, so everyone knows exactly what time we're going to get started, and then just getting to work. Having open communication with our probation officers. So shout out to Bexar County Juvenile Probation. They do amazing work. I wish they didn't have the title of probation officer, because when you think of that, you think of a negative perspective.
Right.
But most of these probation officers really want to help, and they don't want to get us involved. But sometimes they're left no choice, and they have to file that petition to get them to the courtroom.
So how does probation work differ between the two systems, the adult and juvenile system?
I see on the juvenile side a very caring perspective. A lot of them are social workers.
Sort of more collaborative.
Yeah, more collaborative with specialty courts. They really want the best for these kids. When I was to do criminal defense, the POs that I met on the adult side, MTR. Like, no, let's figure this thing out.
Right.
Let's figure this thing out. There's something bigger going on instead of just incarcerating this man or woman.
Right.
Our probation officers aren't that way. They're really caring.
They're trying to be a positive figure,
right?
Provide positive information. So, what does it take for an adult probation officer? You got to have a college degree, generally. Kind of the same idea.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so what sort of methods in the courtroom do you use to sort of prevent or problem solve some of these things? Like, what type of tools do y'all have available to you in the juvenile system?
In terms of the court, we have tons of tools. Probation with Jill Mata, she's very progressive in terms of how to deal with kids who got some issues going on.
So she is a juvenile probation chief?
Yeah, chief.
Appointed and overseen by the 27 district court judges
Correct.
in Bexar County. So in Texas, the judges oversee that particular, the district court judges oversee that position. She's got a great reputation.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She's great. So, establishing specialty courts, really strong collaborations with the community resources, CHAPS programs, using horses for therapy.
Equine therapy.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice.
Mind court, which is dealing with our young men with mental health issues. We have a grit court that deals with our young men who are on the verge of going down a very violent path. We have with FEC, which is some of the kids that are used to seeing domestic violence in their homes, and try to address that at an early stage. So it's tons of stuff. And then, bringing them up. And you can see a team approach trying to help this child. If it works, great. I don't know your name. And hopefully I never see you again.
Yes.
But if it doesn't, I know your name. Now we have to escalate.
So probation on the juvenile side is more akin to then like a problem-solving court on the adult side.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah,
I would say that.
So you have a team. So you have the probation folk, and who else do you have?
So on every hearing, we have, of course, the child. We have the DA's office, probation, the defense attorney, and family. Sometimes we have CPS. We can get CASA workers there as well. That's going to be majority time. Sometimes the therapists come in and speak on that child's behalf, and we all work together to try to figure out the best solution.
So CASA folks are people that generally are involved when a child is the subject of neglect or abuse.
Right.
So how does a court-appointed special advocate work in the juvenile court?
Same thing. We have a lot of our parents who don't want their child. And they want us to be the housing unit for this child. And that's not what detention's for.
Right.
That's not what TJJD's for. Texas Juvenile Justice Department.
Yes.
That's not what they're for. So we need to get your parents actively involved in this process. And sometimes they just don't want to.
So it's a multi-pronged effort, right? Then it's just not the kids,
Right.
but it's also the parents.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can't try to do what you can to help the kids if the parents are not on board. So how do you do that? How do you bring a parent into the point where they recognize that they're part of the problem sometimes?
We're trying new avenues to get parents more engaged or engaged at all. But there's nothing worse when you see a young child in front of you and that mom or that dad says, I don't want this kid. Especially if it's adopted.
Right.
When that child's adopted, someone already gave them up for adoption at a very young age. So you may not heard them say that, but you know it happened because you're adopted.
Right.
Now you're hearing someone else say, I don't want you.
That's very challenging.
Yeah, but then imagine the trauma it causes a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I'm enjoying the conversation. Shaw, if you're okay with me calling you Shaw.
Yeah.
Let's go and take a
Cruz. Yeah.
Cruz.
Like I'm back in the military.
And you were in the military.
Right.
You want to tell us about that? Right?
Yeah, I did 8 years, Comlog Westpac, U.S. Navy.
Nice.
So,
You and I had that conversation
right.
once. That was impressive. But with that, we'll take a quick Q&A break. We'll be right back.
This is Q&A with Judge Ron Rangel. Submit your question today at beyondthegavelpodcast.com.
Welcome back to the Q&A. We have a question. Looks like this question is still going on. Judge, are you still running for election since you're not running for DA? Now, this has been coming in. Now, just so folks know, I never said that I would run for DA. It was something that I was considering because folks really were asking me to do that, and I felt compelled to at least consider it. But I just got elected to this term under a year ago. And I think it's important when I ran for this term, I did run under the premise that I would serve out 4-year terms if I would be reelected. This is my 5th term. And so 20 years was my goal to work as a district court judge. I complete the next 3 years in a month, and I will have completed that 20 years. It's not something that I think about when I'm out in the community. I don't think about whether I'm running or not. And Cruz, I'm gonna echo your words, right?
Right.
It's not about getting out there when you're in a campaign.
Right.
It's about making your presence known for me so you can learn about what's in the community, so you can meet as many people as you can to hear their stories.
Right.
So you can make sure that people know that the courthouse belongs to them.
Yep.
So it's not really about running for election. And frankly, you never say never. I don't know if I would run for re-election because at the end of this term, 3+ years, I will hit that 20 years. I do think about running for a different type of position, whatever that position is. I did an analysis for some months, and I recognize that the DA position for me today, for me now, is just not the right position. I can't say what the future holds. I mean, if I were to ask you, Cruz, what is it that you intend to do after you've completed your term as a district court judge?
I have no clue.
No idea.
I have no clue.
I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat, and I think it is important that we that we put our heads into where we're at now, into today's issues, and try to solve the issues the best we can. So whether or not I run for political office in the future, I don't know. But whether I'm still trying to run, yes.
Right.
That's never going to stop.
There you go.
That's never going to stop. You agree with that?
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Thank you. Well, that's a great question. Don't forget to ask those questions. You're always welcome to text the judge at beyondthegavelpodcast.com. We'll take those questions in as they come in, answer them to the best of our abilities, and go from there. Let's get back to the show.
This is Q&A with Judge Ron Rangel. Submit your question today at beyondthegavelpodcast.com.
Welcome back. We're still talking to Judge Shaw Cruz. So what kind of emphasis do you put on diverting those types of issues? Maybe the services that are provided. What is it that y'all are looking for? What is it that y'all focus on when a kid comes before?
It depends. I mean, sometimes it's addiction. Kids aren't just smoking weed and joints anymore. They're shooting up meth. They're smoking meth, heroin. I had a couple kids who crack. You're talking about a 13, 14-year-old.
Right.
So it varies. Mental health issues.
Right.
Inner aggression issues where they just can't stop hitting people. Like there's something going on. A lot of it's probably learned behavior that's not really acknowledged in the home. Some of our kids aren't being raised by their parents. They're being raised by grandparents or a friend of the family, something like that. So it's every day is something new.
Right.
It's something new. And you're just seeing our neighborhoods, our communities, the complexity of it when we think it's all perfect and it's not. That family unit, that support system, from churches, schools, nonprofits, everyone coming together to help these kids. It's a lot.
So it seems like the collaboration has to be very focused, very oriented to the specific situation at hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which means you always got to be open as it relates to what the appropriate means of treating or working on a certain situation is, right?
And one of the most important parts, especially as the presiding judge of that court, I don't have all the answers. And sometimes we have to turn to professionals and listen to them. So we're very open-minded to hearing from the doctors, hearing from the therapists, what's going on with this child. Now, that's not an excuse to commit certain behaviors, but at the same time, stepping back and be able to allow people to do their job and hopefully break through these kids and these families.
That's very smart. That's a very smart approach, right? You got to be open. You can't know everything.
Yeah.
It's sort of the way I handle, right? I started the felony mental health court here in Bexar County, and we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary.
That's cool.
And I recognize that these are professionals that deal with these folks and we need to listen to and pay attention to user expertise appropriately. What about repeat offenders within the juvenile system? People are coming back. How does the system operate to reduce this type of cyclical behavior? These types of, what is it that y'all have?
So it's a step up approach. So, depending on the charge, let's say, a class B misdemeanor, we'll probably put them on a 6-month deferred contract, which they never come in front of the bench. And if they can successfully complete that, their case is non-suited. Okay.
Which means
dismissed.
Yes.
Okay. Our language is a little bit different over there. And if they can't stop smoking weed, or if they're breaking curfew, or they're violating the rules of that contract, then we may have to file the case, open the case back up, and then put them on formal probation. 6 months, 9 months, a year, depending. If that's not working and they're still messing it up, I can always put them on probation, but remove them from the home, and they go to a placement facility somewhere in Texas. They receive treatment there, are taught certain tools, then they finish out their probation at home or with their guardian. And for our felony cases, for our more severe felony cases, they just can't get right. TJJD. Now they're property of the state.
And when they go there, which is in very crude language, sort of the prison for juveniles,
correct?
The prison for children, they automatically have to come out at 21.
No, it depends on the situation.
Okay, so if it's like a determinate type sentence,
right? Determinate, but they'll get paroled right before their 19th birthday, so I can parole them back into the community if they're doing well on a determinate sentence, or I can send them to the adult prison
at the age of 19.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
which makes sense because adults in the system are 17, right? So they're kind of at that age, and I guess that's not something that's thrown around very easily.
No.
Right? It takes a certain point, a certain level to do something.
Correct. I mean, your first degree, second degree charges, something real serious, especially if there's victims, guns, something like that. Then that might be the first stop. You start pulling trigger, and we're having bodies, and you're not. They can offer probation, but sometimes the consequences or punishment is a little bit more severe.
You talked about community resources, having a partnership with schools and mental health providers. What resources are out there is in terms of community resources? Is there enough? We hear there's always this challenge for communities to be able to expend enough money on helping. Funds, I'm sure, we're always short of.
Yeah, absolutely.
But is there enough to make a difference? Is good things happening?
Yeah, there is. And we just probably don't see it enough, especially when you're dealing with kids and their families. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
So you just don't see the finish line. Sometimes it's longer than we anticipate, or sometimes it's shorter. It just depends. But we have a lot of great nonprofits in our communities.
How do you approach, is that something that you're involved with? Do you have a team that gets involved with approaching nonprofits? Hey, let's work together. Do they come to you? How does all this work?
Both.
Like, let's say somebody has a nonprofit and they want to provide, let's say something like equine therapy. We got some dog therapy. We got some dogs and we know that it lowers the level of cortisone in the body, it lowers the nervous system. They want to get involved. How does that work?
Oftentimes they'll call me and we'll meet, and then I'll introduce them to Jill, and then they'll do all the paperwork and contracts if it's a good fit. So I leave that up to the team at probation. I can only order like community service or order the therapy or counseling. Probation is the one that's in charge of getting these resources together and making sure that child has that available to them.
And then the resources, and is that something that has to be approved by the judge?
No,
judges, or is that just
probably judges?
Yeah,
it probably go through the juvenile board.
Yes,
as well as or the county commissioner, depending on the situation.
Yeah, depending on what type of services.
Right.
Yeah, because for folks that don't know, juvenile boards in Texas are comprised of the district judges. I mentioned something like that earlier, but those are the ones that decide things like funding and things like that. But county expenses always have to come through the commissioners.
Right.
So it's got to be collaborative.
So we all have to work together, put the egos aside, and let's all work together, get these communities where they need to be. Yeah.
So as a judge, how do you develop that sort of ability to get out in the community and let folks know this is what I do, and we're trying to improve the system, attract that sort of resource. How do you do that?
I just talk to people. I talk. I speak at a lot of different events. I speak at graduations, and sometimes these graduations aren't like big name schools. Sometimes they're smaller schools that we never even heard about, and I always want to let that school know, as well as those kids, you're not forgot about. Y'all going to be some amazing people. Keep it up. Just kind of making the rounds, not sitting in my, what's the term? In my castle above everybody else, dictating orders. I want to be in here in the streets with these kids and families and these communities, talking to people. Yeah. And I go places, hey, that's a judge. That's not me. He owes me money, but and then we'll start talking. But just, even when I was on city council, that's just my thing.
Yeah.
We had a situation when I was on council where there was a lot of shootings on the east side.
Yeah.
So I got my team together, put on my Chucks, my white t-shirt, and my blue jeans, and I was walking the streets. And people are like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to get out there. We can't just, sit in our protected little areas and just kind of dictate what goes on in our little fiefdom.
Right.
Let's go out, let's get out there and work with people.
You're in City Council, District 2 here,
Yeah.
right? And so District 2, for folks who are not from San Antonio, a little more inner city, urbanized. And so as a result of that, your presence means a lot in those areas.
Yes.
Yeah. Let people know, hey, here we are.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I still own a barbershop on the east side.
Yeah.
So I'm always there every Saturday.
Oh, you're probably looking at my hair.
Yeah. I remember, I can't cut hair. Sometimes I let the professionals do their thing. Right. Yes, but I assist.
Yeah, you're good at that part.
Yeah, I'll assist.
You can always give constructive criticism.
If that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know.
One of the things that impressed me, kind of going along these lines, is judges generally, I haven't seen it otherwise. I hadn't seen it before you first got elected. We get elected, we got to get sworn in.
Right.
And the first time I did it, it was a public swearing in. The public was invited. And after that, you talk to a friend and you go, hey, judge, swear me in, fill out the documentation. Everything is good. But I felt very grateful because I'd been invited to your swearing in. And that was at an elementary school.
That's right.
In a big cafeteria. The students all came in and you provided a really uplifting message.
I forgot about that.
You want to tell us about that?
So, I am the first Black man district court judge elected in Bexar County.
That's right.
And that was, it's not a big, I don't talk about that very often, but I went to a school, Camelot Elementary,
right,
where these kids look like me. I'm mixed. My mom's Hispanic, my dad's Black. And the potential, I want these kids to see their potential.
Yes.
I never saw a professional until I was probably almost out of law school. My mother was a nurse, but as far as a man's concerned, my teachers, doctors here and there for appointments. I definitely didn't see a lawyer until I needed one.
Right.
So I want these kids to see me. And I wanted one of those kids to put on the robe and do the all rise, and they did it.
That's right.
And that made that kid's day. And I didn't know this until later. That the kid that wore that robe that day was having a lot of problems. Once he put that robe on, he went home and told his family he put a judge's robe on. And they didn't believe him. But it changed his almost like instantly changed his behavior. And that's powerful. That's that one little thing for that kid. It was cool. I forgot about that.
He could see himself in a new light.
Yeah.
Like I have the capacity to work
do
with
this.
And I can
do this.
Inspirational.
Yeah.
Very
I forgot about that. That's right. He didn't do that.
I thought it was an amazing gesture to the community.
Yeah. It was cool.
And it would be good to see a lot of that. And you're right? I mean, if you look at the demographics, folks that get arrested, by and large are minorities,
Yeah.
right? A big percentage of them are minorities. So it is something special. And even today, I'll get out there and people will come up to me and say, thank you for representing our community.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Right.
And it's
Right.
good. It's good to feel like you can bring that type of
Absolutely.
positive attention.
Absolutely.
So what kind of looking at the system, you have a great view internally, but you also got a bird's eye view of the system and how it works.
Mm-hmm.
It's been 3 years. What are parts of the juvenile system that you look at and you think, if I could change this, if I could do something to make this better, what would you do?
I would raise the age of our juveniles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been talked about many times before, but we often know you're still a kid at 19, 20.
Yes.
You're still a kid. And we expect them to all of a sudden turn 17 and be this wise adult. When most of us don't, start figuring things out till we're in our 40s. Right.
Sometimes later.
Or later.
Yeah.
Or later.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I would, if I had the capacity of that magic wand, I would raise the age from the 17, a little higher, and 10. I mean, a 10-year-old, oftentimes they can't comprehend what they're doing. And they may be acting out from something they've experienced in their past. Who knows? But I think a 10-year-old is very young to be in handcuffs.
And so for folks that don't know, a child under the age of 10 in Texas isn't considered to have the competence to be charged with a crime.
Right.
So a 9-year-old could commit a murder and they can't get charged with murder.
Correct.
Because the idea is they couldn't formulate the mental state necessary to commit that crime.
But that 1 year from 9 to 10, they can.
It's magical. The one day.
Yeah.
Right? 9 years, 11 months, etc. That one day, all of a sudden, they're capable of committing these things. So, also by the same token, when you talk about raising the age, currently we know that if you're a 17-year-old, you're charged in the adult system, carrying with it adult penalties for the rest of your life, theoretically convictions and charges and all these other things. What would be the appropriate age for you?
I don't know. That's when you talk to the professionals. If you talk to the medical field, they'll say the brain doesn't, form completely until 27, 28. I think for women, it's like maybe 24, 25. Yes, ladies, y'all are smarter than us.
Takes us a lot longer.
Yes.
On many levels.
On many levels.
Yeah.
But that's up to the professionals. But I just, when you see it and you see these kids talk and what they're experiencing, like there's no way this kid understands what's going on.
Right.
There's no way.
You can tell.
Yeah.
We see that in the adult system. I saw it today. We did tons of pleas today, getting ready for the holidays, like y'all. We're trying to get things wrapped up for the year. And there are folks that I came across today that are 20, 22, and you could tell they don't know what it is that they're involved with.
Yeah.
So I'm sure from your perspective, you see a lot of kids fall through the cracks. And I don't mean to say this in a negative way. Sometimes the word bureaucracy sounds bad. People don't like that use of the word, but the court system is a bureaucracy.
Yeah.
It is a big organization involved with many different parts that need to work together.
Right.
Do you see juveniles falling through the cracks? How is it that they fall through the cracks? What can we do to stop that kind of stuff happening?
I mean, you're always going to have something fall through the cracks. I mean, any situation, organization, city, county, something's always going to fall through the cracks. Well, we have to be able to acknowledge the fact that there's a crack that exists, and how do we minimize that crack? How do we minimize these kids falling through there? And what's happening when they are? Like, is there a certain situation that occurs that allows these kids to fall through the cracks? And being able to be mindful of that, and then do what we can to minimize it. And like one of the issues that we have now is if we C&T, certify and transfer a kid to the adult side, and we keep them, sometimes like both sides don't know what's going on. Right. Because it doesn't happen very often.
Right.
So we don't want to lose track of these kids. They might be in Bexar County. They may still be in juvenile detention. But we need to make sure that the victims get justice, as well as these kids' cases are being heard, and going through the right process. So it's cleaned up a lot, and it's working. But that's the thing that comes to mind most frequently is the fact that when we have C&Ts and we keep that case, how do we make sure that case stays on our docket and we move it?
Now, those generally tend to be the more violent type crimes.
Correct.
Because you're keeping them beyond what is considered to be juvenile.
Right.
And so related to those cracks, it's impossible to get rid of them, right? Because any organizational structure over time, think of foundation of a home, it's going to develop cracks because the ground shifts and moves constantly. So what are some of the things that you've seen our society do successfully as it relates to cementing over those cracks?
You know what? I think from being where I sit and what I see daily, what's successful is I really believe people do care.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can close a crack real quickly, because if you didn't care, that crack gets bigger and bigger.
Right.
But when you have people in our community that really care, they really, how do I say this? Can I say it?
Sure. Absolutely.
I wouldn't be, it wouldn't be me if I didn't say it.
That's right.
People who really give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, when you do, that feeling, anything is possible when you care.
Right.
And so I think that's one thing that I've noticed in our society, that people do care.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a lot of empathy.
Correct.
In our community, which is part of what makes our community great. And I'm sure segments of every part of society have people that really, really care. So you got the experience, right? I mean, you know, you're starting to round the corner. I'm thinking of a track. I used to be in track when I was young.
Okay.
And I'm thinking about running around. You're sort of like at the end of the last turn, you're heading home for that first term of yours. How important is it to have an experienced juvenile judge dealing with these kinds of issues?
It's really important.
Yeah. You want to talk about that?
And yeah, I mean, juvenile is such a small niche, because it's a combination of both district court on the felonies, criminal side, but also the civil side.
Yeah, and because you're dealing with, and let me interrupt for just a second, you're dealing with felonies?
Yes.
You're dealing with misdemeanors.
Correct.
I don't do that on the adult side. You're also dealing with non-crimes like CHINS offenses.
Correct.
And you want to tell us real quick what a CHINS offense is?
CHINS is like truancy, things like that. And most times we don't deal with that until they're on probation. But, you know, minor things that if you're a child, it's a crime, quote unquote a crime, but as an adult, it wouldn't be a crime.
All right. So you're dealing with all these types of offenses, and then?
All of them. So it takes, you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're doing. And I'm a little different because, like, I'm built for this. I'm a street kid from the south side of Houston. I get it. I ran the streets. I did my thing. The grace of God and my mother, I became educated, moved on. So I relate with these kids. And I'm probably coming from a different perspective that we've never had on the juvenile bench before. We've had some great judges.
Yes.
We had some really great judges. But no one like me, you know?
Right.
Like Judge Jarrett's always tell me, she's like, something about you. Like, you talk to these kids and they listen. So and that can't be taught. That you can't learn that in law school. That's life.
Somebody who reflects
a
little bit of an understanding. So tell us about your background. I mean, what is it? What perspective informs you when you're dealing with these kids?
My gut, but being there and still being involved. You know, I'm out on the west side and east sides all the time. Little taquerias, drinking coffee, just kind of hanging out. I still have some pretty good friends that in the community. Not all of them do the best things in life.
Right.
But, you know, we can have conversations.
Absolutely.
Just being involved and knowing what's going on. Keeping your finger on the pulse of what's shaking and moving in our communities.
Staying in touch.
Staying in touch, but listening.
Right.
You know, sometimes just be quiet. It'll always expose itself if you allow it. But if you try to control the conversation, you end up painting this false narrative that's not really happening out there.
You know, that's always been my perspective. You know, I don't necessarily agree with the partisanship elections.
Right.
But, you know, whatever the state tells us we do, we obviously have to do. But related to electing judges, I think that's kind of important because it sort of forces judges to get out and campaign, to go to areas that they serve, to see the type of struggle that people have. Is that something?
Yeah, I love that. I'm born, I love doing that. That's why I won my D2 race, city council race.
Yes.
And I've never stopped.
Yes.
I've never stopped. I'm always out there talking, and I'm not shaking my hand. I am Judge Shaw. Call me Cruz.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm Cruz. And I'm, you know, just meeting people.
Did you foresee yourself being a judge?
Oh, no.
No? What did you think about doing when you were growing up?
Baseball player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played second base, played third. Baseball was my thing. Once I no longer played baseball, I was lost. Baseball was the reason I went to college.
Yes.
I couldn't spell law school, much less go to law school. Well, you know, when I was in high school or even in college. I went to law school about 10 years after graduating college.
So you played college ball?
Yeah.
Where at?
At Texas Southern.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't have thought in a million years I'll be where I'm at.
Yes. Yeah. When I was a young boy, middle school, high school, I wanted to be a high school teacher.
Okay.
And then when I got into college, I wanted to be a college professor. I wanted to teach history.
Okay.
So we sort of kind of fall into certain things, right? I never thought I could be a lawyer.
Right. Yeah.
I never thought I could be an attorney, much less a judge.
Right.
Not something that I ever dreamed of. So in terms of your role, how do you balance, because it's a combination of things, right? There's going to be some listeners and can't blame them, can never fault anybody for having their perspectives. And all these perspectives are so important. And I think it's important that we consider all of them. But the idea of, look, crimes are being committed. Doesn't matter if they're under the age of 17. They got to be held accountable for their actions. But the juvenile system is one that is built for both accountability and rehabilitation.
Right.
How do you handle that? What's an approach that you take to balance those things?
Well, both can be true. You can focus on rehabilitating at the same time of holding accountable. Mm-hmm. And those can be parallel lines. They're not either or. Mm-hmm. So holding these kids accountable for whatever they have alleged to have committed. Once it's found to be true, or on the adult side guilty, then we start working on the rehabilitative side, but as well as accountability. Mm-hmm. And that could be detention. That can be, GPS.
Right.
I mean, we can put certain parameters into place where hopefully this kid won't do it again. At the same time, meeting whatever needs they may need to be addressed, whether it be drug addiction, mental health, alcohol, whatever it could be.
So it's not all black and white,
no.
Like anything, right?
Right.
There's a million different reasons why people commit offenses.
Yeah.
Right. There's a million different people that could be affected different ways. And so all those things are important to consider. I'm looking at the trends, at the juvenile trends. These are provided by the county. Overall referrals, it look like they've gone down.
Yeah.
2023, 4,166 juvenile referrals. That's felonies and misdemeanors and CHINS referrals, those non-crime as adults. that went down 3,798. It went down by several hundred. And this year to date, it's sort of along the same trends as it was last year, which is down some. And you mentioned earlier that there's no magic Aladdin's lamp that we can rub to figure out these answers. But is it something that you see in the courtroom?
Actually, I wouldn't say I see that in the courtroom because you're in the weeds.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're talking about numbers and looking at different trends that we're seeing,
mm-hmm.
We're not that high level because we're actually dealing with them day to day.
Right.
Like you would ask us, like, oh my God, these kids are getting crazy. But then when you get a higher perspective on it, like through those numbers there, mm-hmm. like, okay, maybe it's working.
What you're dealing with is the case at hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a human life in front of you that you're trying to make a difference on. Murder manslaughters are up a bit. 3 more this year through today's date compared to last year. So that's been pretty much stable. People will be surprised. Bexar County, 2.1 million people that live here. You ask somebody, how many murders do you think juveniles commit?
Right.
11 November 2024, 14 through November 2025 for the year.
Right. 12
the year 2024, 11 murders / manslaughters, mm-hmm. not just murders, for the entire year. That's not what I would think.
Yeah.
Just watching media reports, I would think that number would be those kind of people. Yeah. You're thinking gang members. You're thinking all sorts of 12, 10, 11 a year.
Yeah. And keep this in mind too. That's when the referral comes in, not when the actual murder occurred.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
How do I say that as a layperson? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Having tried murder cases, 9 times out of 10, they don't catch the person when they pull the trigger or stab the individual to kill them. Mm-hmm. They don't catch them right then and there.
Right.
There's an investigation that goes on. That investigation can take a week. That investigation can take a year. It can take 2 years.
Right.
But once the investigation is completed and they have their suspect, that's when they refer to the juvenile department. So that's when we get that number.
Yeah. So in general, murders that are not completed in front of a camera, in front of a video,
right.
It's being recorded, those are difficult to solve.
They got to prove it.
Yes.
They got to prove it. They got to talk to witnesses, pull evidence. It's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. So it can take a lot longer time than just someone stealing a car when they're driving the car. Like, I see you in the stolen car. Mm-hmm. I know you did this.
So in Bexar County, total felonies that are nonviolent,
Okay.
And we know that felonies generally are not violent.
Right.
There's a lot more nonviolent felonies,
Correct.
significantly. I read that in a criminal district court, like the one that I handle, violent felonies comprise something like 22%
Okay.
of the offenses that come in. 78% or so are nonviolent. So looking at these juvenile referrals / arrests, to speak in adult parlance, in 2023, there were 1,337 nonviolent felonies.
Okay.
And 2024, there was almost 300 less,
Right.
1,077.
Right.
So that's gone down.
Mhm.
And for a nonviolent, we're talking about all drug cases,
Yeah. Car thefts.
graffiti, criminal mischief type stuff,
Yeah. The dollar amount.
weapons violations, but people breaking into homes. To have a county this size, 1,077 in the entire 2024 year annual, that's not what I would expect.
Okay.
Misdemeanors are kind of on the same level, right? Not quite what folks would expect. So when people come to you and they go, "Oh my God, juvenile crime is out of control in our county," what's your response? I know you're familiar with these numbers because you gave them to me, right? So I know you know them.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. When you're in the trenches, you think it's bad. Or if you watch TV on the news or social media, you think it's out of control.
Yes.
There's a handful of kids committing most of the violent offenses.
And that's another thing, right? A lot of these numbers are committed by one.
Right.
There was a statistic I read once. 70% of crimes in the adult world are committed by 7% of offenders. Do you see the same type
Yes. Yes. So that's why we have a rule of thumb in our courtroom. If I know your name, that's not a good sign. Because that means I'm seeing you over and over and over. And what we're doing isn't working. So now we have to change things up a bit to see if we can get you on the right track or protect this community a little bit better.
One of the things that Alana and I have learned as a result of this podcast is that people like to hear from practitioners in the courtroom. They like to hear from judges. I know campaigning for judges is strange. We touched on it earlier. How can a judge like you effectively work to get reelected, knowing that you have to stay balanced, you have to stay neutral with a lot of these issues, you got to just be process oriented and focus on changing lives? What does that look like for you as a juvenile judge?
For me, what I do is I take my experience from a day-to-day basis and I just tell the people what I see.
Yes.
I'm really easy to talk to when I see people out. They see me on TV and they'll ask me certain questions. I can't dive into cases.
Right.
But I can let them know what's going on in our community.
Right.
I'm very approachable. There's no ego. I'm a people person.
Right.
And so I think that's what helps me. I don't just go out during election time.
Right.
I'm always out. You don't see me going to these election issues. I'm always out.
Right.
And I'm always in the communities.
Yes.
And I've always been that way. And I'll continue to do that.
It's a marathon.
Yeah. And it's not just for this 4 years.
Right.
I want people to have faith in our court. And the only way they can have faith in it, they see you.
Right.
Not just on TV, but actually see you.
Right.
Like I'm a human being.
People want to get to know you. I have come across folks that say, "Hey, do you ever talk to Judge Shaw?" I say, yeah, I know Judge Shaw. What is it that you could tell folks that are listening in, may have heard of you, maybe not? What is it about you that people don't know about you? What is it about you?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I'm all full of tattoos. And I hid my tattoos from my mother until I was like 45 years old. That's one thing. But another thing that people would never realize or even think about, I love 80s girl bands.
Really? I do too, honestly.
Isn't that weird?
Okay, so name me a few.
Expose.
Okay, you're talking about that kind of age.
Yeah.
No, that's
Lisa Colt Jam.
Yes.
Bananarama.
Yes.
I don't know why, but I have a playlist on my iPhone. It's called 80s Girl Bands.
Yeah. What do you mean? I don't know why.
I just,
it just popped up.
Yeah.
Just randomly.
I don't know how it did it.
Yeah.
It hears everything we say anyway.
Yeah.
So it created for me.
What about the Go-Go's?
Go-Go's.
The Bangles?
Yeah. Walk Like an Egyptian.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's.
And I really like that rock and roll lead.
Okay.
Like Pat Benatar. It was fantastic.
I saw her when she was here for New Year's.
Yeah. Still playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still playing with the Blackhearts.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's just something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Good. That's a good touch. That's a good something to learn about you.
Keeps me balanced.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Judge, I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise.
And I've gotten a lot out of it. I feel like every time I talk to you, I learn more about juvenile law. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but when I first started at the DA's office in Hidalgo County, that's where I was a prosecutor in Hidalgo. Okay. And they started me in the civil section. Mm-hmm. Back then, the civil section was juvenile, protective orders, and child protective services cases. And so I know a little bit about juvenile work because of that.
Right.
And as a result of that, I did take a few of those cases when I had my own practice. But there's always much to learn. The field shifts quickly, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It seems like every 2 years as the legislature gets together, they're constantly adding and taking away.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So in terms of where we're at today, how do you see the projection in terms of juvenile type work? What is it that we have to look forward to?
I think we're to look forward to the fact that when we touch these kids and these families' lives, mm-hmm. we're going to see the benefit in the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Makes a difference.
Yeah, we'll see that benefit.
Yeah.
We won't see it today. We won't see it tomorrow, but we will see it in a matter of time.
Right.
And then that one kid, if they're listening or their parents, they're going to turn around and say, you know what? They gave me a shot and I took advantage of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it looks like we're approaching that time. Any last words and anything you'd like our listeners to know?
Just no. I appreciate you having me on. Again, it's a William Cruz Shaw for the 436 District Court. It's a pleasure to serve, and I will continue to serve.
Always appreciate seeing you.
Likewise.
Thanks for coming on and educating our listeners.
Thank you, but I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for listening. We couldn't do this without you, the listener. We really appreciate you tuning in over the years. It's been a pleasure. We're about to round the corner on the end of this year, the end of 2025. Wishing everybody a happy new year, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, everything else that relates to this particular season. Hope it's safe for everyone. We intend to come back just as strong in 2026. Looking forward to that fourth year of Beyond the Gavel. Appreciate all of you. Don't forget to subscribe, beyondthegavelpodcast.com. And we're always open to any sort of questions, comments, and you can always text that at Text the Judge. We'll see you in a few weeks.
You've been listening to Beyond the Gavel with Judge Ron Rangel. Join us in the next 2 weeks where we are educating the public and expanding mindsets. Head to our website, beyondthegavelpodcast.com, or your favorite podcast platform to subscribe to the latest episodes and updates.